Welcome back to the channel, Adventures Through Climate Change, where I talk too much during videos, other people's videos, but we are trying to figure out what's going on with climate change. So we're watching different clips. I'm trying to keep them somewhat shorter. I do talk a lot. I have a problem talking, and I apologize in advance. But I try to make things a little bit more entertaining, especially on the videos where it's just pure science and we're just staring there, where I'm about to fall asleep and you guys are like, every time I do a head bob, you're taking shots and stuff. Yeah, anyways, we got those videos too. But what we're talking today about, it's a concrete clips with a K. I love it. They're lying to us about global warming. It's with Randall Carlson in this, so I'm guessing I'm going to agree with this one too. But I had to listen to Randall Carlson. I haven't listened to him in a long time, and I like that he doesn't claim to know everything or that he's even right. He's just like, look, this is what I'm seeing. This is the evidence here. And what he tries to do is take things from all the different fields and put them together. So we'll see what he has to say. He's probably going to be straight up and say, this is what I believe. It's not necessarily true, but here's the evidence why. So with that being said, let's get into it.
What's crazy about this is modern, today.
That's not Randall Carlson.
We're so worried about climate change.
Guy.
It's such a political hot topic for people to discuss and fight about, and how much impact do humans have on climate change when you're looking at it from looking at the forest for the trees.
When you bring that up, it's good. Humans definitely have. There's no question we have an impact on the climate and the environment through all kinds of things. It's not just the burning of fossil fuels. It's deforestation. It's agriculture. It's mining. All of these things have an impact on the environment. However, what you just said is important, because within the larger framework, the impact that we are having on the environment in that context actually is quite minimal. That's the thing that most people don't understand, because they're using, like you just said, they're using the impact of humans on the climate as now a political issue more than it is a scientific issue. And if you look at, there's so many things. I mean, we could devote hours and hours to this discussion, and it needs to happen because, the typical response, mainstream media and the purveyors of this, the so-called climate crisis now, that if you question that or challenge it, you are now consigned to the category of climate change denier. Which of course I'm about as far as from a climate change denier as you could get, because I'm talking about catastrophic climate change all the time, right? Now I do question the severity of human-caused climate change by releasing very much really a small part of the carbon dioxide that is locked up in the crust of the earth into the atmosphere. If we look at the long range, again, what's missing here is the big picture, the long range view. And that's what I try to do, is I take the long range view. The period known as the Quaternary, which is the Pleistocene and the Holocene. The Pleistocene goes back to about 2.5 million years ago, but which is only a...
What do you want?
Oh.
Water.
I understand they need ads and whatnot, but man...
of time when you'd say, go back to the Precambrian times and actually the beginning of life on Earth, right? Within that period of time, the range of life on Earth, which is includes the Paleozoic, the Mesozoic, and the Cenozoic, right? Mesozoic was the age of the dinosaurs, right? We all saw Jurassic Park, right? Mm-hmm. So Jurassic Park was the middle period of the Mesozoic, preceded by the Triassic and followed by the Jurassic, followed by the Cretaceous, right? And in fact, for people who are really into this, most of the dinosaurs that were in Jurassic Park were actually Cretaceous dinosaurs, by the way. But
really?
Yeah, most of them were. But I don't know.
Cretaceous Park
doesn't have the same ring as Jurassic Park.
No.
I need to shut up. I was going to say the same thing. Cretaceous Park just doesn't sound as good.
Some dinosaur slaying tools over there in the corner I showed you earlier.
I saw those. Yeah, I've been a little concerned here ever since I saw those. Like, what does he keep those in the corner for? But then I realized, you got Austin here, so
yeah,
Yeah.
Austin will protect us.
Yeah.
I gotta say, it would be so cool to interview these type of people. And, I don't think this channel will go anywhere. Probably will never monetize. It's basically just to start discussion and build a community around the discussion about what's going on. But if years down the road, I happen to be in the same area as Randall Carlson, man, I would love to just pick his brain and film it, at least for myself. Anyways.
Oh, I thought it was for protection from Austin.
Oh, no, Austin, we don't have to worry about
No,
Austin.
we don't have to worry about him. Okay, good. So where was I? Yeah. Okay, so what I'm about to say was that if you look at the ambient concentration of carbon dioxide in the global atmosphere, the lowest throughout the entire range of the so-called Phanerozoic, which is the great eon encompassing Paleozoic, Mesozoic, and Cenozoic, right? The Pleistocene and Holocene has been the lowest carbon dioxide has been in the history of life on Earth. And this lowering of carbon dioxide coincides with the onset of this oscillating cycle of glacial interglacial ages. Now, carbon dioxide has two primary functions within nature. On one hand, it is a greenhouse gas that can capture long wave thermal radiation emanating from the Earth, right? That has been absorbed from shortwave solar radiation impinging upon the Earth, being absorbed and then being re-emitted. Once it reaches saturation, it re-emits. So it's a greenhouse gas and an important one, right? It's also the fuel for photosynthesis. So it has a dual function within the natural order of things. Without carbon dioxide, there's no photosynthesis, right? Now, carbon dioxide typically, once it gets below 200 parts per million, it starts getting dangerously close to the point where photosynthesis will shut down. Photosynthesis begins to shut down between 150 and 180 parts per million. During the
I think it might have said 160. I was thinking that last video a week or two ago said, or maybe it was Mr. Ellis's, said 140. Regardless, it's right in that kind of range where you seem to have a lot more problems with less carbon than you do with more carbon. In fact, the environment tends to actually be greener because what he's talking about because of it flourishes more because of carbon dioxide and high carbon dioxide times.
So-called late glacial maximum, carbon dioxide concentrations reached as low as 180 parts per million. Now,
no greenery
below that. I mean, the first plants that go are the so-called C3 plants, which is basically just describing a photosynthetic pathway. Most of our food crops are that category. Most of your weeds are C4, which means that they have been adapted to low carbon environments, right? But most of the stuff we eat is adapted to a higher carbon dioxide environment. This is why commercial greenhouse growers ramp up the carbon dioxide to like 11 or 1,200 parts per million, which is three times or more the present day concentration.
About 350 right now.
Present day is around 200.
No, about 406.
406.
Oh, 406.
Right now. Yeah. And at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, it was about 280. So throughout the 10,000 years of the Holocene, it apparently rose about 100 parts per million. Okay. It has risen another 120 parts per million, right? Yet, like I said, throughout most of Earth's history, carbon dioxide has been thousands of parts per million, thousands of parts per million, and life was abundant, proliferating, right? And the Earth did not turn into a runaway hothouse, like has been predicted. So there's many nuances to this whole issue about climate change, and a couple of points to be made when we start talking about the increase in carbon dioxide. Number one, we can compare it like if we look in the last 10 or 12,000 years, where our baseline is now the lowest that carbon dioxide has been in 600 million years. Okay, so and then as far as temperature change, there was a medieval warm period that was thoroughly recognized and admitted by the very first IPCC report that came out in 1992. But the follow-up by 1996, they had managed to erase the medieval warm period, because the medieval warm period, even in the graphs shown in the IPCC's first report of 1992, showed that the medieval warm period was warmer than the present, right? The modern warming.
Didn't they go through like a minor ice age, and that's why they blame the Black Plague and whatnot during the Middle Ages and whatnot? Maybe he's saying medieval. Maybe we're talking about different times, and maybe it was after. But I'm pretty sure during the Black Plague or whatever that a big thing was everybody was malnutritioned from lack of food, and the lack of food was from many ice ages, just really bad years and crop failure. And when everybody's malnutritioned, everybody's weak, and they're susceptible to sicknesses, and they think that that's a big reason what happened. And that can happen again if things get colder. So I don't know if like he's saying CO2 doesn't have anything to do with heat. But if it gets colder, I think we're kind of going to have a bigger problem, right? And we do have to consider that too. Most of us would just move to the southern hemisphere, I guess. That's what happens in an ice age. You don't almost have to go down there. Anyways, go.
Well, this didn't fit the narrative. So by the time the 1996 report came out, the whole graph of climate change, temperature change from 1,000 years ago to now was basically flattened. So what they did was they got rid of the medieval warm period and the little ice age. And so when instead of the graph doing this, they flattened it out, and then they added, it's a complex thing what they did. Then they added instrumental record on the end that looks like it's going way up, because it is not accounted for the urban heat island effect, which is a whole nother question. But it was a completely contrived graph called the hockey stick. And this is the thing that has been utilized since the mid-90s now to incite this fear. Al Gore used it
How could they get away with doing something like that?
They didn't get away. They were called out on it. Okay. But the point is that the people that are calling them out on it are not getting the media coverage. Because look, at this point there's billions of dollars going into the whole climate change narrative. And so there's a huge disincentive to go, well, wait a second. The climate right now is no warmer than it's been many times throughout history. And I've written extensively on this, and I'm going to be publishing a lot of this on my website, talking about the periods of climate warmth have been always times of human prosperity.
Right.
As
and
compared
reproduction as well, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you have, because clearly when it's warm out, you have an extended growing period.
Right.
There's more food to eat. People get more food to eat. They get healthier. They get stronger. They live longer.
Your pee gets smaller when it's cold.
I've heard that. But I haven't put it to the test yet. But I think it also happens when you get older, but I'm not sure.
Oh, he just admitted to something. Let's stop that right there. That got into an uncomfortable talking right there. Uncomfortable conversation. I don't know why I couldn't say that. It just wouldn't come out. Man, what did I think? I think that Randall Carlson's pretty spot on. I'm not going to add any to it. He pretty much mentioned, and the way he said it, a lot of these things is affirmation, right? So when I'm hearing this, and then I'm going back to what Mr. Ellis said, and then when I'm going back to the few other videos that just kind of put things into place, I'm trying to take everything, whether it's for or against climate change, but I do think it's political. I do think it's to the point where it's going against economical gains, and I do think that as from a humanitarian perspective, we're gonna have to. I think we should look at people first, and what I mean by that is, when people talk about climate change, what they're actually saying is the Earth is going to be unsustainable for human life, because the Earth is going to be fine. It's just going to keep going around the sun. And it'll figure its own stuff out. It bucks all things that don't go along with what's happening to it at its time, right? so what we're saying with climate change is we're going to get to a point where human life is very difficult, and the population is going to go down quite a bit because, you know, that's what climate change is, right? So I forget where I'm going with this. I guess what I'm trying to say is we need to look at the humanitarian approach, you know, and yes, think about the future. Yes, there is stuff we should consider, but we shouldn't make it the dragon that we're chasing, right? We shouldn't make it, as Jordan Peterson put it, the dragon that we're chasing, because it's just not going to work out that way. It's not how it works, right? It's that's just saying, because the environment is all things, that we're saying that we fear all things. So with that being said, let me know what you guys think. I would appreciate a sub or a like, or maybe a comment on which video I should follow, or, you know, just a comment in general. I reply to everything, mean, nice, whatever. It is your opinion, and you are entitled to your opinion, and that's what this community is about. And you could think I'm wrong and get very mad at me, and that's okay, because that is, you know, that you're entitled to do that. You're entitled to your opinion, and you very well could be correct and I could be wrong. But I'm just trying to put it all together for everybody else, and for you, and for the entire human race. And I hope to catch you on the next video.